Next up, Betty.
Hey, I'm extremely disappointed at how partisan this election has become. And I hope that in the future we can reduce that. But I have to tell you, when I get emails, what's the first question? What party are you from? That will determine how you vote on city issues. But you know what? That's just not true. The city issues are those that impact us the most. And yet, and we all want the community that has good schools. We all want safe communities. We all want short commutes to work. And I think that part of the dissatisfaction right now is because we need to bring everybody together, and the citizens feel that their voices have not been heard. Now, I know John thinks that everybody is very happy with what's going on in the city and with the development. The problem is, I don't think he's in touch with a lot of the citizens. I have delivered over 6,000 door hangers in the southern part of the city. My friend Gail, for 3 years, all she's heard is beep, beep, beep from the construction trucks. Without exception, every person I spoke with said all this construction has gone too far. So I think that we need to try to dial down some of this rhetoric, but I also think the problem is we need to value every opinion and listen to every person when they voice that opinion. And I hope that in the future, the elections become less partisan and more about what's involved with the city. I also think because historically the city has been more Republican, people have kind of gravitated to that aspect or moved from being a Democrat to independent to try to capture that aspect of the city. And I don't think that's good. I think that's a bad indicator of the true intentions. So that's kind of my comments on it.
Thank you very much, Betty. Tom Durham.
I just want to open up to first to respond to something that Tammy had said, that we're doom and gloomers. And you know, that's not true at all. I think this is the best place in the United States to live. When I retired, I had my choice of about anywhere in the country, and I chose Scottsdale. And I don't see it as doom and gloom at all. I see it as a great place to live, and that's the reason I'm running, is I want to help keep it that way. On the issue of nonpartisan elections, I agree with most of what John said. The issues that face Scottsdale are not partisan. He's right about potholes. They don't need a Democrat or a Republican to fill them. And so I think it's great that we try to have nonpartisan elections. We all want the same thing for Scottsdale. We want it to see beautiful and clean and great parks and great jobs and all the things we have going for us. But like Betty, I've gotten a lot of phone calls, a lot of emails that say, who are you going to vote for president? And, you know, when I refuse to answer, you know, they don't like it. Betty and I are the only two candidates who have been endorsed by bipartisan members on the current city council. We've been endorsed by both Kathy Littlefield, who's a Republican, and Solange Whitehead, who's a Democrat. And we've worked with both of them on 420 and other issues. And I think those endorsements are a great testament to our bipartisan abilities. They've seen what we can do, and they know we'll work in a bipartisan way for the people of Scottsdale.
Thank you, Tom.
Say, Chris, Betty did direct part of her comments to me, so could I have 15 seconds?
You bet.
All right, so Betty, when I used to manage the airport at Scottsdale, it was right at 911. And I remember we still had neighbors complaining about the sound of jets coming over after 911. And you remember too, that we described that as the sound of freedom. Well, guess what beep, beep, beep is? Beep, beep, beep is the sound of economic sustainability. All our homes had beep, 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 didn't they? And now, as soon as we're in, we don't want to hear beep, beep, beep anymore. But guess what? Without beep, 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 we don't have cash registers ringing.
I'd like to respond to his comments. Okay. First of all, the people are the ones that should have the primary say in what goes on in their city. And they are not happy with all the beep, beep, beep. And that is really not the sound of freedom. The sound of freedom is bringing all the stakeholders to the table, to the citizens who live in the southern part of Scottsdale that want to say in what goes on in their neighborhood. And just as an example, the citizens spent $500,000 to pull back on Southbridge 2 and the preserve because city council proceeded against their wishes. And Tammy was one of the key people that supported putting commercial development in the preserve. And
Thank you, Beth. I'll have you, I'm sorry, I have to pull the time on that.
That's fine.
Thank you, though.
May I
All
respond?
right, everyone, we've got 2 more questions left. Tom Durham.
Thank you, Mike. Yeah. Tammy said earlier, height and density are partisan issues, and I don't think so at all. It's not partisan. It's a question of what people want. And if the people of Scottsdale want more height and density, they can vote for Tammy and John.
Right.
And I'd be very happy with that. I'd go back into retirement and ride my bicycle. But if you don't want height and density, you have a choice here. And that's me and Betty. So it's not a partisan issue. It's a question of what people want. And as far as the breadth of our support, yeah, it's true. Betty and I don't get as many developer donors. We've told them, don't come knocking on our door to try to give us money because we're not going to take it. We want to be free of influence from developers and other people who come to vote for the council. Now, as far as downtown goes, it's been ignored recently because people have been waiting to put up 15-story buildings. And we need to tell them it's not going to happen. You're not going to get a 15-story building down there in Old Town. You've got to renovate what you have there, and a lot of it does need to be renovated. And we have no problem with 3, 4-story live, play, work designs. I think that would be fabulous in Old Town. But it's not going to be 15 stories. And don't wait for that to come, because it's not going to happen if Betty and I get elected. So please do what you can to renovate Old Town, fix up what's there, improve it with lower rise apartments, restaurants, retail. That's what we need, and that's what I'd love to see down there. But don't wait for the 15-story apartments, because they're not going to come.
Review board for 3 years, and I'm here to tell you that we have very careful standards and guidelines that have been approved by the citizens. Everyone gets a chance to weigh in. Nobody pushes any voices away. The processes are good. They can always be made better, but we take everybody's voices. In addition, it's quite the irony to be told that you're not taking developer money, because Betty and Tom, the vast majority of your contributions came from one downtown owner developer. So it's an unbelievable hypocrisy that you keep saying this. And by the way, the people who invest in our city don't want to invest in your vision for the future. So it's no big deal for you to say you're not going to take the money. They're not giving it to you. They don't like your vision. Thank you.
Can we respond, Chris?
Tom, yes, please go ahead.
I have not taken a dime of developer money. The person that you referred to is not a developer. He has never developed a thing. He's a landowner. He's a landlord. But he's not coming before the council. He's not asking for 15-story buildings. He's a person who's interested in preserving the character of Old Town Scottsdale. And he's not looking for 15-story buildings or variances. He's just a person that's interested in maintaining what we've got down there.
Thank you. I'm going to go right over now to Guy and have you answer that question as well.
No, that's a great question. And as soon as you read it, it just made me go back to, well, let's say the good old days before 2020. But that's the one thing I always enjoyed about being on the city council is working with Old Town. I love the area. I love the people. For 8 years, I've tried to, let's say, preserve the area as much as possible. I don't think a historic register is really the solution, because once you do that, then it really restricts what you can do there. And a lot of those property owners want to be able to have that flexibility of what to do with their property.
Just very quick, Tammy said that at the Development Review Board, they were voting on the aesthetics and the architecture of the Desert Discovery Center. And if you look at the video, that's not true. The Development Review Board was specifically instructed that they're not voting on the aesthetics or the architecture. They were voting on the specific location of the Desert Discovery Center. And Guy was at that meeting. I imagine he remembers what happened, because Guy made it very, very clear that they were voting on the location and not the aesthetics. And Tammy voted to put it in the preserve.
Thank you, Tom.